everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
And today we are talking about Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. You got that Blu-ray case? Oh, 4K. Nice.
Hey.
This is directed by Michael Bay, of course, and written by Aaron Kruger and Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman. Released in 2009, I don't know if I said that, and starring Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox, Josh Duhamel, Tyrese Gibson, and John Turturro. And of course, Hugo Weaving is back as the voice of Megatron. Peter Cullen, of course, is back as the voice of Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a sequel, of course, to the successful Transformers film that we talked about already, released in 2007. And not as good. The first one I don't recall what the Rotten Tomato score is, but I'm pretty sure it's higher than this one. I don't remember this one getting very good reviews. Did you see this in the theater, Stu?
I did. The first time I saw the trailer was the Super Bowl, and I was like, yeah, I have to see this movie. And when it came out, I was again working at the movie. I know I say that like every time.
Sure, yeah, no.
Every time we do a review, but I was working at the movie theater when this came out, and that was honestly one of the best crowd experiences.
Oh, really?
That I've had. Yeah. I remember loving this movie when it came out. But as time has gone on, I realized that it's not that good. That doesn't mean that I don't like it. That
Sure.
doesn't mean that I don't enjoy it, because I really do. But it's not great.
I don't really remember my first theater going experience, but I do know I saw this multiple times in the theater because I, of course, was very excited about it because I loved the first movie.
Yeah.
And The Dark Knight had come out a year before, and that was the first, narrative film shot with IMAX cameras. And so Michael Bay shot portions of this movie with IMAX cameras. So I drove to the Mall of Georgia to see it in IMAX, and the IMAX scenes were amazing. But I remember thinking Michael Bay didn't do it as well.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Nolan would do like entire scenes in IMAX, whereas Michael Bay would do shots in IMAX. And so the forest battle is the first scene in the movie that was IMAX or shot with IMAX cameras. And I actually have the Blu-ray that I bought from Walmart that's called it was a Walmart exclusive called the Big Screen Edition. So it does have those expanded IMAX scenes, which I like. But I remember in the third act, you would see, is that like the big Transformers called Devastator, right? The one that's like kind of climbing
Yes.
just sucking everything into its vortex or whatever.
Yeah.
Like all the scenes with Devastator would be IMAX, but then it would cut to Shia or Josh Duhamel or whatever, and those wouldn't be. And so it was constantly shifting aspect ratios.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember thinking it was like almost distracting, even though the IMAX scenes looked great.
Uh-huh.
I remember thinking in the theater, he did not do this as well as Christopher Nolan.
No, he did not. But listen, if you thought that was distracting, you might have an aneurysm trying to watch The Last Night.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's that. What you just described, it's that, but 10 times that.
Right.
The aspect ratio is constantly switching.
Oh, wow.
Throughout the entire movie.
I saw The Last Night one time in theaters and have not watched it since. And I don't think I saw it. I didn't see it in IMAX, so I don't think I noticed, or I don't think I saw, an aspect ratio switch in the theater. And so, like I said, I haven't watched the Blu-ray since it came out. So that'll be interesting to watch when we get there.
The aspect ratio switches. There are 3 or 4 different ratios in that movie. It's ridiculous, and it's for no reason.
So yeah. So anyway, I think I liked this movie at the time, but I do remember thinking, because I think I went to the IMAX to go see it twice. I went by myself like the first time, and then a friend of mine wanted, I don't think had gotten to see The Dark Knight in IMAX and wanted to go see a movie in IMAX, and I was like, well, let's go. And I remember, I think that third time sitting through it being like, this movie is not very good. But I think now watching it, because I can't tell you the last time I saw this movie. I know I watched it, when it got released on Blu-ray probably, but I probably haven't watched it since its initial release. And yeah, I think it's probably worse than I remember. I will say I actually really enjoy the first half of the movie up until pretty much Optimus Prime's death. After that, I think the movie just kind of goes off the rails.
I agree.
Yeah. I think some of the comedy, some of the family dynamic worked a lot in the first movie. And I think that it gets ramped up to 11 in this movie. And some of the comedy goes on for too long. Like the mom eating pot brownies at the college. Like all of that was totally unnecessary. Yeah, and I probably found it funny back then, but I don't really find it that funny now.
I chuckle when I see that scene. It's not a it's not a laugh out loud, knee slapper type of joke, but I still find it mildly funny. But that's just because of what's the actress's name?
I knew you were gonna ask that.
Julie White.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. I like her as I really like the parents in all of these movies. And they have a good dynamic. They
do. They actually the parents actually do have a very good chemistry with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And with Shia LaBeouf, and so they work very well. And so I can understand Michael Bay kind of wanting them to just probably keep the camera rolling, and I'm sure they improvise some of that stuff and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But it's just, I think this is a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
And you could easily trim that running time down a little bit if you cut some of that stuff down.
Yeah, for sure. I've said this about James Gunn as well. Sometimes the story stops for the sake of the joke.
Right.
And Michael Bay is notorious for that.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. It was still funny, but it went on for too long.
Yeah. What do you think about the opening? Well, the opening scene shows like prehistoric Earth, and I think it's the primes that show up or something. Number one, what do you think of the look of the primes in the Fallen? Their design.
Not my favorite.
Not my favorite either.
They looked I understand what they were going for. They were trying to go for primitive looking
Transformers.
Transformers. I thought, I don't know. There's like the primes are almost supposed to be like deities almost.
Right.
Not quite, because like the Transformers God is Primus, but like the primes are like supposed to be like just below that.
Yeah. Like almost demigods, maybe?
Yeah, kind of like, demigods. But I wish they would have went for a more like grander, like regal look, and they look very skeletal.
They do. That's a great way of describing it. They look very skeletal. They all look the same, and it kind of works for the Fallen, but I don't think I really like it for the primes.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the Fallen, especially since he's like the evil one, it would have been interesting. I mean, I know they're machines, but I guess it could have been interesting to see how, because the Fallen, I guess, was a fallen prime.
Yes.
And so it could have been interesting to see how, like, because he like turned evil, maybe it's kind of a Star Wars, I guess, type way of thinking, but like the dark side having the effect on him, making him look kind of skeletal.
Yeah, that would have been
And the primes looking more regal, like you said, I think would have been kind of a better take, probably.
No, I definitely agree. As far as like the opening scene itself, it was unnecessary. And if you were gonna do it, I would have done what you suggested. I would have showed the original primes and showed how the Fallen became the Fallen.
Right.
Or
that
at
would
least,
have been
yeah, at least a montage. Maybe maybe not
the whole
a full on narrative flashback, but at least a montage of that. The whole prehistoric thing would. It didn't bother me. It was unnecessary.
Right. Yeah. Would have been a better prologue, I guess, to see like the origin of the Fallen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it jumps to Shanghai, and their nest is hunting down these Decepticons.
Yeah.
And I love that opening scene. I mean,
there's a great opening scene.
Yeah. There's a lot of destruction. Obviously, they're not exactly being covert, I guess you could say, or discreet or anything. But that one Decepticon, that huge Decepticon that Optimus ends up fighting, I love the look of that thing with like the bottom wheel and the top wheel. Yeah, exactly.
Man, it's fire. I
that design was really, really cool.
And that's the thing. Like, one of the things I like about this movie or these movies are, and I think I said it when we did Transformers 2007, is like some of the Transformers are very unique. I don't like all of them, but some of them are just so cool. I can't help but
right. Yeah, exactly.
But like, it's just like, how did somebody think of that? Like, I think that Transformer was Michael Bay's idea. Like, he had it in his head to have a Transformer with wheels going over the top of each other. I'm like, what would make you think of that?
Yeah, it's a cool design. I like it a lot. So I do really like that opening scene. I think it's really good. And I love Optimus's introduction. You know, the truck, they like just drives out of the back of the plane. He transforms while he's falling and everything. Yeah, I thought that was amazing.
It was incredible.
So I feel bad for Bumblebee when he's introduced. The whole kind of premise of this movie is there's, I guess, some information that was left on like the shard of the Allspark that Shia finds, and it gets imprinted on his mind. But when he finds the spark, after it kind of flashes in his brain, he drops it, and it falls through the floors of his house and ends up turning some home appliances into little evil Transformers, I guess Decepticons.
Yeah.
And he runs out, he comes running outside, calling for his dad. They're all hiding from these little Transformers, and Shia screams Bumblebee's name. Bumblebee comes flying out, saves the day, and then Shia yells at Bumblebee and is like, "You know what you did wrong."
I am so glad you brought that up. That makes no sense whatsoever.
It bothers me. It makes absolutely no sense.
It always bothered me.
He was like, if I wish I could like insert the audio right here of Shia screaming Bumblebee, because it's like, it sounds life or death. And if I was Bumblebee, I would have done the exact same thing and come bursting out of the garage, like, guns
you
blazing.
Called me.
Right, exactly. And now you're yelling at me, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
I feel like there was something. It almost feels like there was a deleted scene or something missing that we didn't get, because he can't be yelling at him for saving his life. It's like,
right.
Come on.
Like, your whole kitchen came to life. Like, you should be grateful.
Right. And then like Megan Fox comes over, and they go, and he goes to tell Bumblebee that he's not taking him to college. And I forget exactly what they say, but Shia's like, he knows what he did. He's like, yeah, you're right. You're in trouble. You know what you did. And I'm going, what? He didn't do anything.
What did he do? He did what you called him to do.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I always felt bad for Bumblebee in that scene.
It is a funny scene when he tells him that he's going to college, and then he starts playing. I'm so excited and starts snapping his fingers. That was funny.
I remember that was the beginning of the trailer.
Yeah.
said something. B, I got to talk to you about college. I'm so excited. I'm not taking you. He goes, oh. And then I remember hearing like the Linkin Park music start right after that. You know, that was like the way the trailer went.
Yeah. How do you feel about Sam? I drew a blank. What do you think about Sam going to college?
Well, I mean, I like that that's where the movie went. The whole thing with him and Megan Fox, I guess, is okay. I feel like it was all set up for Isabel Lucas's character to, you know, she's like, Megan Fox is, I guess she's worried that he's gonna cheat on her at college, and so she's like kind of trying to preemptively break up with him. Yeah. And he's trying to set aside her fears by getting her like the whole long distance relationship kit with the webcam and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's another thing I want to talk about is the party, but we'll get there. So I like him going off to college. I think that there's his roommate. I remember thinking his roommate was funny when the movie came out. I actually had completely forgotten about his character until I started rewatching it. And when his character was introduced, I was like, oh yeah, this guy. And he is a little too much for me at times.
I agree.
And then the whole Isabel Lucas thing, I have a huge problem with that. But I like the idea of Sam going off to college. I think it was a logical next step for part 2.
Yes, I agree. I definitely think it was logical. And I definitely agree with what you said about Leo. But the thing is, Leo, I don't dislike Leo, but I think he works best when John Turturro shows up and they play off of each other.
Right.
I enjoy watching those two, but when it's just him, it's like I don't know.
It's you remember how
he works better. He works better being reactionary than trying to initiate the humor within the scene.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I also was going to say, you know, I remember saying in the first movie that Shia LaBeouf is a little chaotic. And that gets ramped up in this movie, and it still works. But it's like Leo is also super chaotic and like bouncing off the walls type. And so when they're together, it's almost too much at times. Yeah,
yeah. And even John Turturro is you could call him chaotic as well. But when he's with Leo, it's almost as if he's the straight man and Leo is the is the one that's the reactionary one, which I think is great.
Yeah,
because with Sam and Leo, it doesn't work.
Right.
They're constantly switching. Like when in one scene, Sam is a straight man, and the other scene, Leo is a straight man. Like when I'm skipping ahead just a little bit after the party, when he's drawing all the symbols on the wall in that scene, it Leo is the straight man, and then Sam is the chaotic one. It's like pick we can't keep switching back and forth.
Yeah,
who's gonna be the one to react?
Yeah, and then the whole idea that Leo is running this website that's like trying to expose that there are alien robots out there.
Yeah,
I do kind of feel like that's one thing where the movie kind of like the first movie, there was a huge battle scene in the streets of wherever in Los Angeles or something. How in the world did they cover that up? Like so many people saw giant robots fighting on the highways and in the streets and everywhere. And now it's like a myth. It makes no sense.
The entirety of downtown Los Angeles saw those robots. So
surely
there's no way that
video.
You would be able to cover that up. Exactly. Absolutely no way. See, that's the thing. Like these movies get a little, as far as continuity, they conflict with each other a little bit. Yeah. But again, like I said on the first one, I do enjoy that they all have their own self-contained stories. But in that comes the problem of, trying to link them together, and sometimes, the stories conflict with one another.
And since
it's still not as bad as X-Men. X-Men is
yeah, like trying to connect the dots
worst.
in X-Men. Yeah, it's like, that'll make your brain hurt. Yeah. And I was gonna say, and I don't know, this is perhaps a little demeaning to Michael Bay, but he tends to make movies that are turn your brain off and then just, kind of have fun with it type movies.
Yeah.
And if you do that with this movie, if you turn your brain off, then you don't have to worry about how it's connected to the first film, really, I guess. But that can be hard, I guess, especially when it's a part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the movie playing right now, and that's the part where he goes to the party with Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking into the party, and he tells him, "I can't stay long. I got a video chat date with Michaela."
Mm-hmm.
And then it cuts to Michaela, and she's logging on. I'm like, you're already late. Like, why did you even go to the party? And then, of course, he ends up missing the video date because he has like Bumblebee shows up, and but it's just like, that has always bothered me too. It's like you don't have it's not in the future that you have this video date. It's going on right now.
It's happening now.
It is happening right now. You should not have gone to this party at all.
That's an editing thing. That's all it is. And that, again, that's one thing that bothers me about Michael Bay's movies is his editing. That he has some really dynamic, beautiful shots, but the way his movies are edited are almost like a music video.
Right. Well, he came from music videos, So
well, that makes sense. I never knew that. That makes
I think he did.
sense.
I could be wrong. I know he used to shoot videos for Playboy, which were probably very montagey and everything,
Yeah.
Probably similar to music videos, but I thought he did music. I mean, he might have done commercials more than music videos.
Yeah, I know a lot of directors come from music videos. The Hughes brothers, they did Book of Eli.
Yeah. From Hell.
Dead Presidents, From Hell. But they did music videos as well. They did a bunch of Tupac videos, and
nice.
I want to say they did some Creed videos.
Oh, maybe? Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah.
I know, like David Fincher, I think, came from music videos too, and Spike Jonze. He's done some really good music videos. So yeah, I guess it's especially maybe back in the 90s. That's kind of how maybe people kind of got their start, was doing music videos, and then got into films or something. I don't know, but all right, let's talk about Isabel Lucas's character, right? So she shows up as this college student who has zeroed in on Sam, and basically is like, "Oh, you're going to cheat on your girlfriend with me," right? And then we find out that she's a Decepticon. And I have a big problem with this because, and maybe this, maybe you can correct me. Maybe there was something in Transformers lore that I'm unaware of, but like, I feel like a Decepticon being able to pose as a human is huge. And it is such a throwaway thing in here.
I 100% agree. We had the exact same note, like almost word for word. Yeah, it has always bothered me.
Yeah.
Even when I was loving this movie, I was like, that makes no sense. If a Transformer can transform into a human being, why don't they all do that?
Right. It's a game changer. Right. Exactly. Like that would be.
That in itself is the plot of a whole nother Transformer.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like when he finds out she's a Decepticon, he should have immediately been, I know they don't have like a cell phone communication, but he should have been on the phone with Optimus Prime and been like, they can pose as humans now. They can pose as humans now. And Optimus would have been like, oh my God. Like it would have been, it's a huge like technology change for the Decepticons. And yet it's such a throwaway thing. She goes after Sam and Michaela, and then they kind of defeat her, and then it's never mentioned or talked about
again,
or it's never seen in any other movies. I think that was another Michael Bay thing, maybe. Like, we should have a girl show up and she's, Sam's going to maybe cheat on her and then we find out she's a robot. And if I had been one of the writers, I'd have been like, we can't do that.
I think that they tried to blend two story elements because they needed a transformer. So like in the first Transformers, they had what was the transformer that transformed into a cell phone? Frenzy.
Right.
He was actually a radio first, and
right?
a
Yeah,
CD
boombox
player.
like thing.
Yeah, boombox. Yeah, and then he turned into the phone when all that was left of his body was his head. So they needed to do that again, but didn't want to repeat the same.
Right, didn't want to have just another cell phone or another.
Yeah,
boombox.
they didn't want it to be another cell phone or another boombox, something like that. So, and they also needed to show Sam being tempted at college, so they just kind of blended those two things together. That's just a theory for that.
Right,
that's
sure.
what I think.
And maybe that's correct. I don't like it.
Neither do I. So then what happens after that?
Well, I'm at the part where some Decepticons have gone down in the ocean and they're about to resurrect Megatron.
Yeah, I just got to that part. Ravage just landed on the boat. Well, before we talk about them waking him up, what do you think about Ravage and how he looks?
Remind me who Ravage is again.
The cat.
It's okay. I guess I don't dislike it, but it's again, it's something that was that something that was on the old TV show or anything like that? I mean, I know
Ravage,
Rise of the Beast had Cheetor and stuff.
Ravage is a lieutenant of Soundwave.
Okay.
And he transforms into a cassette tape. He's a panther that transforms into a cassette tape.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, because Soundwave is a boombox.
That's right.
Ravage comes out of Soundwave.
That's right. I visually I can see that. I guess I just didn't know the character name.
Yeah, his name. Yeah, Ravage and Laserbeak. They in the third one. I'm drawing a blank here. I've been drawing blanks all night. But they kind of allude more to the fact that Soundwave has lieutenants.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think they explicitly refer to Laserbeak as a lieutenant.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
but
so obviously in this movie he doesn't turn into a cassette tape. He's basically just that kind of panther type robot. Mm-hmm. And he's okay to me. He's not anything special, which maybe is the problem. But yeah, you don't like the design?
I don't. It's too ambitious. And I get it. They were trying to match the look of the Transformers, and like it felt too. Ironically, it felt too feral. It felt too wild. For
he doesn't feel like a
Transformers.
Right. He doesn't. He feels like literally like an animal, not like a like a talking Decepticon. Like he's like a Decepticon pet. That they have trained and sent into.
He doesn't feel sentient.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's the word I'm looking for. So I can see that being an issue. Now, somebody like me, I consider myself a Transformers fan, but like I clearly didn't know who Ravage was. Mm-hmm. I guess it doesn't really bother me because I didn't know that's who it was, and I didn't know that it was a character from the old show and everything. So
yeah, I
just assumed it was some sort of Decepticon cat, and so it was fine. It was whatever.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that he had one big giant eye. I didn't like.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Kind of a weird design.
Now the one thing that I like is how he has like mini guns on his hips. I thought that was dope.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, but I do love the scene when they wake Optimus up, or not Optimus,
Megatron. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
I love the shot when they not when they dive down, when they're coming back up after they kill the one Transformer to wake up Megatron.
Right, he needs parts. Right, yeah.
Yeah, that shot where they coming back up out of the water. Oh man, that's a great shot.
That is good. I agree with you. I will say I very much dislike the Dr. Decepticon. Why does he have like a German accent?
Right. It felt so cliche.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why? So I feel like we should also, and you probably know their names and I don't, but the two Transformers who start off as like a little ice cream truck and then become the little like compact cars.
Remember. Yeah, I don't remember their names.
I don't. Again, completely unnecessary. I feel like they were added for comedy, and the comedy doesn't really work. I remember the movie got some flack because it was deemed kind of racist when like they talk about how they can't read and stuff.
Yeah.
And people kind of were a little upset about it. Yeah, I don't find them funny at all. And most of the time I find them annoying. And so I kind of wish they just weren't in the movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. I have nothing else to say on that.
The only time they are useful, I guess you could say, is when they're in Egypt and they find the basically where the primes are supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
And they're all kind of mad because there's nothing there. They get into a little bit of a fight, and one of them throws the other one into the wall and creates that hole where they find out later that's where the primes are. That's the one and only time that they're useful, and it's
there is one more time where they're useful. When they like one of them eats or I'm sorry, Devastator eats one of them, I think.
Right.
And then they like break out of his face.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty useful, but
that's true, I guess.
Other than that, it was just that other scene. So yeah. You're right. Not very useful.
Could have been anybody, really. I mean, like you could have used a different Autobot in that scene with Devastator. And then I don't know. I mean, you could have come up with something. You could have had the humans fight in that like temple and throw one of them into the wall, and the wall. I mean, I would have believed that the wall was old enough that it would have cracked like that or whatever with a human being thrown into it.
Yeah, I would think that Bumblebee can just scan the environment and like, hey,
or
that wall is hollow, and just punch the wall and be done with it.
Yeah,
like,
that would work too.
You didn't have to insert that silliness in there,
right? I think there's almost too much. Like it didn't bother me as much in the first movie, but there's almost too much of that in this movie. Like
I 100% agree.
Another character that I don't really like is this RC truck who starts off as a Decepticon and then
Wheelie, I think his name is
Wheelie, yeah. And then like Megan Fox I'm at the scene where Megan Fox is like capturing him for the first time and she like melts his eye. And he's just, I don't like his character. It's
all three of those Transformers are voiced by Tom Kenny.
That's hilarious. I don't like it. Well, and I don't blame him. I think it's a writing thing or a Michael Bay thing. I'm not sure which, but
it's probably both.
Yeah.
And that's a crazy thing. I've always said that if Michael Bay had better written movies, like if he hooked up with like literally anybody but Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman.
Yeah.
But like if like let's say he hooked up with like Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, like
right, yeah.
The movie is so much better because like Michael Bay has the eye. He really has the eye for individual shots. If he could just get a better writer and adjust his editing, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for 100%. Because there, visually, Michael Bay, his movies are always visually interesting.
Always.
It's just it's the stories that always kind of seem like they're, or like you said, the editing. Sometimes they're just chaotic. Like the editing just doesn't make sense at times.
Yeah.
So yeah, if he could be kind of reined in with the editor, or maybe listen to his editor a little bit more, because I'm sure like the editor probably edits it a certain way, and then Michael Bay's like, no, we got to do this,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure Michael Bay is ever present in the editing room.
Yes,
and I think he does not need to be.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, the other new Transformers. How do you feel about them? I know you haven't seen much of the original series, but.
Right. There's one that I liked a lot, especially in that opening scene.
I know exactly who you talking about.
What's his name? Remind me his name.
Sideswipe.
Yeah, the one that's like, damn, I'm good. Sideswipe is awesome.
Sideswipe is awesome. I wish he was in the movie more. He is so cool.
I agree. I think RC. So this is that. So I remember when we talked about Transformers 86, and I said I wish RC was in the movie, and you were like, well, she is, but she's like 3 robots. Like she's like 3 motorcycles or whatever. Mm-hmm. So this is that movie where they call her the RCs.
Yeah.
She doesn't talk, I don't think. It's not really RC,
It's not.
So I think that's kind of a waste.
I agree. Because RC is only one of like 3 female Transformers that I can think of. You got RC, you got Elita 1, and then later in the other in Beast Wars you got Black Arachnia. But RC is a cool character. She's I believe, maybe is it RC or Elita 1? One of them is actually Optimus's love interest.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I can't remember if it's RC or Elita 1. But yeah, RC is a cool character, and they do that a lot in these movies. Yeah. It's not just with RC, it's with Sideswipe. I think, oh my God, just thinking about it is making me mad. And the last night, especially after we've just watched the 86 Transformers animated film, they do Hot Rod so wrong.
Oh, really?
Oh, they do Hot Rod so wrong. I'm not going to elaborate on it.
Right, yeah.
Because I want you to, I know you haven't seen it since the theater, so you barely remember it, but
no, I don't.
I want you to feel the anger that I feel.
Okay. Sounds good. So I enjoyed watching the first movie. I really enjoyed watching the 86 movie. And so there's a part of me that is like wanting, we'll probably end up doing a lot of these movies fairly close together. In true Cinema Heroes fashion, it seems like we'll do like the first 2, and then it's like 3 years before we get to like part 3. So I think we'll probably do Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, and The Last Night fairly close together.
We've been doing pretty good with Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So
we only got 1 to go.
That's right, and I still have not seen it. Yeah, so I feel like we'll probably end up doing most of these Transformers movies kind of close together, which I'm excited about because I'm really looking forward to rewatching Dark of the Moon.
Oh, and I'm so ready to watch Dark of the Moon. I'm so ready.
And I'm not necessarily looking forward to rewatching Age of Extinction or The Last Night, but at the same time, I am looking forward to doing an episode on it, watching it and talking about it and stuff. So
yes.
I'll probably end up, hopefully we'll do it soon, and I'll be able to talk about Hot Rod and how they did him dirty.
Man, what Marlon Brando say? Look how they massacred my boy. Oh man, I already know your thought about this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What did you think of the look of the Pretender after it wasn't Isabel Lucas?
It's too humanoid looking. I mean, I know the Transformers are humanoid looking, but like
it's just ugly.
Well, yes, it's it's ugly.
No need to be nice about it. It doesn't look.
It's not a good look. Yeah, no, it's I just don't like it. I don't want I know this is going to sound kind of bizarre, but it's like, I want to see Transformers who transform into vehicles
Yes,
or,
yes.
or, well, I guess it's still a vehicle. I was going to say, or jets and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Transformers who like morph into human beings. That's not really what I'm.
Yeah. I don't
So,
want that either.
That's not a Transformer to me.
She looked like Twizzlers and tinfoil.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but yeah, bad design for sure.
Very, very much so.
It's crazy. This movie is long, and it feels kind of long because we haven't even gotten to the forest scene. I think that's coming up pretty soon, but then there's so much after that still, you know?
Yeah, because they still gotta they after the forest scene they haven't even met
John
up with
Turturro
Simmons yet.
Right, exactly.
So they still got to meet Simmons and then go to Egypt. Like it.
Right. They go to DC first. They meet Jetfire. Then they go to. Yeah, it's just there's so much of the movie.
Yeah.
Still. It's a long movie. What do you think about Jetfire?
I like the idea of an old man Transformer. I hate that it's Jetfire.
Oh, really? Okay.
Jetfire is one of the most badass Transformers.
Oh, really?
And they made him an old man. And not like a cool Clint Eastwood old man.
Right. Like a dementia almost, like
yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, yeah, Jetfire is dope. He's a Decepticon that turned that changed to
sides.
An Autobot.
Right.
And what like the sacrifice that Jetfire makes, we'll get to it in a moment. I really want to talk about that scene. But
okay.
The sacrifice that he makes in the movie, the idea of the scene is accurate because when he gives Optimus his parts, that's accurate. I don't think he dies to do that. I think they just combine and they do
okay.
But
is that from the original television series?
No, I think that was. I know it's in the comics. I know it's in the IDW comics.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was first introduced to Jetfire. I want to say Transformers Robots in Disguise, which was in the early 2000s.
Okay.
If it's not that, then it may be Transformers Armada, which was like 2 or 3 years after Robots in Disguise.
Because those are the ones you would have watched as a kid, because you're a little bit younger than me, and so you didn't really grow up on the G1 or whatever it's called cartoon series, right?
Yeah, my introduction to Transformers was Beast Wars, which was 96.
Yeah. Okay.
And then after that was G1, but I vaguely remember watching G1 episodes before Beast Wars, but not knowing
what it was,
not knowing that it was Transformers. I just thought it was just a random cartoon because I remember seeing certain frames of the Dinobots.
Oh yeah.
So, and I think I was like 2 or 3 because I don't recall any kind of story or narrative. I just remember watching Grimlock change from a T-Rex to a dinosaur and thinking, oh.
Right, yeah, exactly. I was gonna say we have very similar kind of memories of G1 because I was, I'm a little older than you, so I was alive when it was like on, but I was also so young that I don't remember anything narratively about it, and that's why I don't really even remember certain characters' names. I just remember seeing robots transform into trucks, and like I remember having some of the toys and stuff like that. But yeah, so I was about to say, I was like, man, I really need to watch like more of the show, but maybe it seems like I need to watch more of multiple shows really to
I'm a Transformers nerd, so
sure,
I haven't watched the last 2 Transformers shows, or maybe the last one. Yeah, I think it was the last one because in the current one, well, I don't even think it's on anymore. But the last one to air had Will Friedle
Oh,
as
really?
the voice of Bumblebee.
Oh, nice.
And that's I didn't watch that one. I wanted to watch that one because I liked how the animation looked. It was like cell animation, but it looked a little bit more 2D than 3D.
Right.
But yeah, I'm a big Transformers nerd. Like I said, Beast Wars was my first introduction. And
Yeah.
I was hooked from there. I was
Yeah.
like, did a robot that changes into a gorilla? Yes, I need it. And then when I found out later that they changed into cars, I'm like, it don't get no better than this. It don't get no better than this.
That's awesome. What do you think about the forest scene between Optimus and all the Decepticons?
Arguably the best scene in the movie.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
However, there are a few shots in this scene where the frame rate on the Transformers drops.
Oh, really?
Just for like maybe 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it happens 2 or 3 times in the scene.
Oh, interesting.
And the scene is on right now. It hasn't happened yet, but it's after Optimus spits out his mechanical teeth and then his blades whip out.
Right.
So a frame, or not a frame, but a shot or two in there is where the frame rate drops. I'm trying to see if I can spot it right now, but it looked so awkward, and it took it for me. It stuck out like a sore thumb, so it took me out of the fight, and it was like, okay, now I'm watching a computer generated image.
Right. Interesting. I guess I didn't notice that, but yeah, I wonder if it's more noticeable on the 4K because you're watching it on the 4K. But
I've always noticed it.
You have? Okay.
It wasn't the 4K. I noticed it in the theater. I was like, that looks weird. And the part that just happened when he ripped open the Blackout, I think it was Blackout.
Rips his face in half, basically.
Yeah, he ripped open his face in half, and when he's like standing on his shoulders, and it was like, the frame rate dropped.
Really?
And then there's another wide shot when he's fighting Blackout, Starscream, and Megatron. The frame rate drops for like a second, and I can't not see it.
It's really interesting. I rewound it a little bit to see if I could notice it, and I guess I don't have the eye that you do because I don't really see it. But maybe we'll watch it together and you can point it out to me a little bit. But, but yeah, I think it's the best scene in the movie. And of course, when since I've got the Blu-ray that has the expanded IMAX scene, I think it is the best looking scene in the movie too.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember Shia LaBeouf actually hurt his hand in real life making this movie. He got into like a car accident or something, and they had to incorporate it into the film, which is why his hand is like bandaged for the last act of the movie. But it was actually in this scene he had already hurt it, and so it was really obvious in the IMAX when I went to go see it in the IMAX theater, and I can still see it in certain scenes in this or certain shots in this scene. But he's wearing like a skin colored bandage on his hand in this scene, and you can see it in certain spots. They don't do a great job of hiding it.
It's stuff like that other directors, the frame rate just dropped again. I'm at the scene where I skipped ahead a little bit. I'm at the scene where Megatron and Starscream are on this tower, and is right when he puts his foot on Starscream, the frame rate drops, and I can't not see it.
Weird. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for it because that's about to happen right here.
Okay. But what was I saying? I forgot.
Other directors
got distracted about a drop frame rate.
His bandaged hand.
Oh yeah, other directors would catch things like that. Michael Bay tends to not. Have you ever been in the goofs section of Michael Bay movies? There's quite a few goofs.
I'm sure there are. Yeah,
it's quite a bit. And I'm not saying that other directors don't have continuity errors, but I think that Michael Bay's are sometimes more noticeable.
Well, again, I think it's partly because of his editing, like we talked about, And I know there's not much you can do when your lead actor hurts his hand in real life, and
Right.
so they did what they could to try to kind of hide it. It's just you're shooting with an IMAX camera. When you go see it in an actual IMAX, it's however many feet tall.
Yeah.
You're gonna see it, and so because I saw it in the theater, like I just know the shots, like where to kind of look for it almost.
Yeah. And with IMAX, it's not just about the bigger screen. You get more depth of field.
Right.
So you can see more clearly. So it's like stuff like that. It could
Yeah, that's true.
Eagle-eyed fans like us, that's
Right.
that's gonna pop out.
Right.
But to what you said about his editing, it's almost like well, it's not almost like, it's exactly because he comes from music videos, he doesn't have to worry about continuity error.
Right. Yeah.
Because music videos it's a 3 to 4 minute montage set to a song.
Right, exactly. And I feel like that's how he approaches his movies sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, so this is just like a music video, except it's 2 hours long. And so it's like,
it's not.
Right.
I'm on the scene where the more Decepticons are coming to Earth and they just crash into the aircraft carrier.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic scene.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Yeah, and the camera turns and you see the Decepticons climbing out of the aircraft. Michael Bay is a master when it comes to action scenes, man.
Yeah.
See, it just is like Michael Bay movies always do this. They go from day to night in an instant.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't, but it does.
I'm trying to fast forward a little bit so I can kind of be where you are. Oh yeah, it's basically like it's a shot change. It goes from being on an aircraft carrier in the day to suddenly the parents are running away at night. Yep.
Yeah, and granted, the aircraft carrier wasn't. They were
different time zones.
Yeah, two different parts of the world, but the parents were sitting having lunch,
right? Exactly.
Whatever it was, outside in the daytime, and now 30 seconds later, it's night with no explanation.
Right.
Continuity errors, man.
Yep. I agree.
And it's gonna happen again. It's going to happen again when they get to Egypt.
Yes.
In an instant, it's going to be night, and it's not going to feel like hours went by. It's only going to feel like a couple minutes went by.
He also does that with geography too. Like when they go to see Jetfire, they're in Washington D.C. at that museum, and then they go outside, and there's like these mountains in the background and everything. And I remember people going, "That's not Washington D.C. Like this, where are we now?" It was like. So he just kind of takes some creative license, I guess you could say, with time and geography.
Right. What did you think when they killed Optimus? Were you shocked or?
I don't think I remember being shocked. It's one of those things where they're gonna bring him back,
Yeah.
They resurrected Megatron. They'd probably be able to resurrect Optimus too.
Yeah.
But I do think I remember thinking, I think I remember wondering if they were trying to kind of be like the 86 movie, by killing off Optimus.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting, it's interesting for Sam because his I know Bumblebee's more of his protector, but the leader of the Autobots has been killed.
Yeah.
So it does kind of, for not just for Sam, but even for the military, Josh Duhamel and Tyrese, which by the way, Tyrese has nothing to do in this movie except make a couple jokes. I almost feel bad for him. He has no, every line of dialogue for him is just a joke. And he literally does nothing.
He says something later that, I should probably write that. I didn't write it down. I should probably write that down so I don't forget. But he said something later that kind of bothered me.
Oh, really?
But we'll get to it later.
Okay.
It's in the third act.
I could see how everybody could be nervous that these Optimus is dead. More Decepticons have just shown up,
mm-hmm.
and they don't even really know I know they've said the Fallen will rise again, but they don't really know, who the Fallen is or like what he's capable of. I guess they have talked a little bit about who the Fallen is, but
yeah,
I could, it's an interesting conflict, I guess you could say, for the characters because they think that their main guy has been killed off.
Right.
But how did you feel about Optimus getting killed off?
It was a little bit of a shock to me because I hadn't seen
86
the 86 version yet. So, but again, I was also smart enough to know that they were gonna bring him back.
It's just one of the same
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It was weird because I didn't expect him to die that soon, nor did I expect him to like stay dead for a while.
Right.
He dies in the middle of the movie and stays dead for almost the entire second half of the movie until the very end.
They don't really resurrect him until like the very end,
which was an awesome scene, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Right.
But yeah, it like I said, I was smart enough to know that they were going to bring him back. It's just the way they did it was, personally, I think it was effective, but it was undercut by the humor and all the other stuff that we mentioned before, the editing, continuity errors, and how he came back. The scene with Sam,
where Sam dies, basically.
Yeah. That bothers me so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to skip ahead, but I think since we're here,
let's talk about it.
Let's go ahead and talk about it. What was that?
I don't know. I wrote down, so I didn't take very many notes on this movie, but I did write down, I forgot Sam died and talked to the Primes. It was
Sam died and went to Transformer heaven. Listen to how silly that sounds.
Exactly.
That sounds like somebody did a line and was like, I got this great idea, man. Let's kill Sam. And then he goes to heaven, but there's Transformers in heaven.
And then they give him the matrix of leadership.
But it's dust, man. It's dust. And then it forms back together because of the Transformer magic. Brilliant, man. We got to do it. Like, what?
As they're writing, they're like, this is the best thing I've ever heard. No, saying that out loud, I can't understand how that made it into the final draft of the screenplay. Sam dies and goes to Transformer heaven and is basically told, like, the power was in you all along, like, it's just
oh my god.
It's no, that is awful. And I think I completely blocked it from my memory because I have never liked it.
Out of all of the negative things that we've said thus far, that is the movie's biggest crime.
Yeah.
They send Sam to Transformer heaven. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Oh boy. So let's backtrack a tiny bit and talk about Simmons, John Turturro's character. So he ends up being Robo Warrior, which is like Leo's main competition with the conspiracy theory website stuff. And Simmons, we find out, has been Sector 7 has been like wiped out and he's been disavowed essentially. And he's running like a deli now. How did you feel about all that?
I liked it. I thought it was I thought it was smart to, first of all, disband Sector 7.
I
thought that, after the Transformers have made their public debut, that made complete sense because their job was to keep it under wraps.
That's true.
They failed tremendously.
Real bad.
Like you had one job
Yeah.
Keep this a secret, and you couldn't do that. You're gone. So I thought that was genius. But I mean, I also like Simmons. John
I like Simmons
Turturro.
too.
John Turturro as Simmons is great in the first three movies. He does make an appearance in Last Night, but it's for like 3 seconds.
Oh, really?
I'm exaggerating. It's a little longer than that, but
Right.
it's not very important.
I think John Turturro is a really good actor, and he knows what kind of movie he's in.
Yes.
And so that's not to say he's like phoning it in. It's actually quite the opposite. He's having a lot of fun.
It. Yeah.
He's leaning into it, but he's still giving it like 100%. And so he, in my opinion, kind of elevates the movie.
Yeah.
Even though his character is kind of ridiculous, but like I can't help but love the part where he's in the car with Leo and he's like, one man, he's like, I can't remember what exactly he said.
He's like, one man alone. He's like, you're not alone. I'm in the car.
I do like that a lot.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like they play so well off of one another.
Right. So I do really like Simmons. I'm glad they brought him back.
Me too, man.
And I like that he's, he was a little unstable, I guess you could say, in the first film. And
he's
so
completely off the rails.
He's off the rails in this one, which makes, it's kind of makes sense, like you said, but so it's fun. He's fun to watch. I like when they bring him into the movie. I said that the movie kind of goes downhill after Optimus dies, which is true, but it would be worse if Simmons wasn't in it.
I 100% agree. Like Simmons holds this second half together.
Right, yeah.
Cause now it's just go here. Like that's all they doing now until they get to Egypt.
Yeah, and once they get to Egypt, by the way, they call in like the military to bring Optimus to this location in Egypt because they know that they can resurrect him. Shia is like, even though they find the Matrix of Leadership and it turns into dust, Shia believes that he can still resurrect Optimus. It takes so long for Shia and Michaela to get to where the military is. I feel like it's 30 minutes of seeing them run towards the military, and the military, is fighting off Decepticons, I think, in the meantime. But it just takes so long for Shia and Michaela to get to where the military is. Again, was like, this could have been trimmed down. I just remember thinking that watching it this time. It felt like forever for them just kind of running and being like, they're right over there. Yeah, and trying to get to them.
The Transformers movies are unnecessarily long. The two movies that I don't mind it are the first one and the third one.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely love those movies.
Right.
I love them. But yeah, it seems like that they can be trimmed down like in half. So they don't need to be as long as they are.
So I gotta Simmons again is just so good. He's got a great line right here where she pulls out Wheelie. Megan Fox pulls out Wheelie, and he goes, "I've spent my entire life combing the world looking for alien life forms, and you pull one out of your purse like a little chihuahua." He just delivers those lines really well.
Yeah.
The introduction. So again, I kind of agree with you about Jetfire. Like, I didn't know much about Jetfire, but I like the idea of like an old man transformer.
Yeah.
And I think they do a pretty decent job with him, but he's just, again, they lean a little too hard into the comedy part. And I think it would have been cooler if he had not necessarily been like losing his mind, basically. I know he's been sitting in that museum probably for who knows how long, but I also like too that like right before they kind of bring him to life, they're like, it's a Decepticon. They're like, no, it's kind of like don't do it, but then we find out that he swapped sides a long time ago. And so I like Jetfire. There's also Jetfire has the power to like teleport them basically, because he just sends them to Egypt.
Yeah, and I see in Transformers lore, that's a big deal. Like space travel, that I think in Transformers terms they call it transwarp technology.
Oh, okay.
So I don't remember Jetfire being able to do that. I'm inclined to say no, but it is a big deal because there are in the newer series there are whole episodes like dedicated to like the space bridge.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So again, they took something that was like a big deal in the Transformers
and made it a throwaway
and
thing.
made it a throwaway.
Yeah.
So
we've been recording for a while, so I don't want to like fast track the third act, but what do you think about Devastator?
nah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I like the idea.
Right.
I don't like that it's Devastator.
Right.
Like, I mean, like I like that. I don't dislike his design. I like his design. I just wish he was someone else because Devastator doesn't change into that.
Right.
He just becomes a bigger robot, which
Right.
I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah. There are some. Are there Transformers that like connect with each other to create a like larger Transformer?
Yeah, Devastator.
Oh, okay. So well, I know like in this movie, yes, but I was meaning in like the original cartoons.
Yeah,
or something.
in the original cartoon, they're what are they called? Constructicons. The Constructicons form Devastator.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I think like when Devastator first kind of constructs, I think it actually looks pretty cool in the movie. But then after that, it's just like he climbs the pyramid a little bit and then eventually gets blown up. You know, it's just like, again, it's just kind of.
He climbs the pyramid just to take a little off the top.
Right.
And then
like, I guess there's the threat that if Devastator gets into the pyramid, he's going to find the
sun harvester,
and be able to turn the machine on and stuff. But it's just, I don't know. Again, it kind of felt like a little bit of a waste.
Agreed. No, I agree. I still like the movie, but it's still frustrating. And I completely understand why a lot of people hate it.
Sure,
but there are still good things to hang on to in this movie. Like the third act, which is awesome for the most part.
Right. For me, this movie has some really good scenes, but as a whole doesn't really work. Whereas I think like the first movie, I think does work as a whole, even though it has some bad scenes, and bad moments and whatnot. This one, I think as a whole just doesn't work as much for me, but I love like the forest battle scene. I like the third act. I like when Optimus gets resurrected.
I love when okay.
Yeah.
So Optimus getting resurrected. I will never forget the sound in my theater when that happened.
Oh yeah.
Or not when he gets resurrected, but when he gets Jetfire's parts.
Right. Yeah.
So the crowd was happy with they cheered when Optimus was resurrected.
Back. Yeah.
But when he got Jetfire's parts, the theater went absolutely insane. You could tell like everybody in there was a Transformers
fan. Yeah.
And it was before this was before the days of the Avengers. So that was probably the biggest like crowd thing that crowd reaction that I had seen up until that point. And probably the second biggest was the previous movie.
Right.
When Optimus said before time began, the theater went nuts. But when he got Jetfire's parts, man, like that was like
that's awesome. I think if I had been in that theater with you, I probably would hold this movie a little higher in my brain as well. Like, because I think that movie theater going experience can really elevate a movie, I think,
Yeah, it did that for me, because for a while I legit thought this was a good movie, and then the more I watched it, I was like, hold up, it feels off.
Right. Those rose-colored glasses or whatever came off a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I remember thinking back in 2009 that I remember getting terrible reviews, and I just remember thinking, like, it's not that bad. Like, people are just hard on Michael Bay. But rewatching it this time, I was like,
yeah,
no, it's pretty bad. It's just, there's just some good moments in it that I think are not good enough for critics, perhaps, to to give it like a favorable review by any means. But honestly, can you blame them when they get, they've been sitting through this movie for 2.5 hours and Sam goes to Transformers Heaven?
Yo, like, what is that?
Right. Like, I would probably give it a bad review too.
Yo, imagine sitting there for 2 hours and whatever, 15 minutes or whatever, right, and then Sam dies and goes to Transformers Head. Like, oh man, I couldn't imagine being a film critic and watching this.
Right. It would have been actually, if I was a film critic back in 2009 when this movie came out, it would have been really hard for me to not put that in my review. Be like, there's something that happens at the end that I really want to tell you about, but it would be spoiler, but trust me, when you see it, you will shake your head in disbelief.
Oh man. And I mean, of course, when Optimus gets Jetfire's parts, he's just, going on a rampage that I love.
Do you remember the Tyrese part that bothers you?
Yeah, it's right when they decide to wake Optimus up.
Uh-huh.
And he says something like, if so we supposed to wake up Optimus and this little kid is supposed to do it. I'm like, he's not a little kid. Like,
right.
Sam is a grown man. He's in college.
And you guys went through this whole thing together in the last movie.
Right,
like,
and the way he says it is as if he doesn't know Sam. Like,
right.
You know Sam.
Do you think, like, there's a part of me that almost kind of likes the idea of Sam dying, because it's an all is lost kind of moment,
Yeah.
Optimus is dead. The Matrix of leadership has turned into dust, and now Sam has died. Like, what are we going to do? So there's a part of me that kind of likes it. But I'm wondering if it would have worked without Transformers Heaven, if he had just kind of woken up and suddenly had it in his hand or something. I don't know. Or
I would, what? I even would have preferred it if maybe he had the Matrix dust, and they just dragged his body over to Optimus, and Josh Duhamel's like, yo, I don't know what it is about this kid, but it's gonna work. Like, I got a strange feeling it's gonna work. We came all this way. We at least have to try. And I would have taken that over Transformers Heaven.
Yes, I would have to. Even if, like, they had moved his body and the wind blew the dust onto Optimus and the dust resurrected Optimus,
mm-hmm.
And then he knew somehow how to resurrect Sam. I don't know, but yeah, right. Transformers Heaven just does not work.
Absolutely not.
I don't know who thought that was a good idea.
You know what they call that? They call that a Deus Ex Machina.
Yes,
when the gods just show up
and hand the protagonist the key to win.
There you go.
Yep. One thing about Megatron in this movie, like in the first movie, and maybe this is just me, but I don't think if you hadn't told me it was Hugo Weaving, I don't know if I would have been able to place it. No. I think they had they'd put effects on his voice and everything.
Yeah, they distorted his voice quite a bit.
He sounds more like Hugo Weaving to me in this movie. Like I was able to kind of recognize that it was Hugo Weaving talking when Megatron was speaking.
I've always loved the design of Megatron. He looks in the movies like he looks like awesome. He looks so incredible.
I do like the design of Megatron in the movies as well.
The first three, the last two, no thanks. Well, I'll give him The Last Night.
I don't remember him in The Last Night, but and this is something that, you know what? I'll just wait until we get to Age of Extinction to talk about it. But we'll just say that there was, you know, even though Michael Bay was directing it, before the movie came out, there was talk that they were going to essentially reboot it and they were going to redesign the characters. And so I thought, okay, cool. Maybe we're going to kind of go back to like the boxier kind of classic Transformers look.
And they did the exact opposite.
Exact opposite.
They made them curvier.
Yeah, it was not.
It's Transformers in cursive.
Yeah, it was. I was not a fan.
Neither was I. I was like, I prefer the first movie.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. If you, especially like, I don't dislike the design of the Autobots or Decepticons in these first three movies, but I know that there were some people who wanted kind of more of the classic look, but especially compared to the way they look in Age of Extinction and The Last Night, I would much prefer these designs.
Agreed. They look the best in Bumblebee though.
Yes, I agree.
But man, thinking on the trailer for Rise of the Beast, they don't look well, at least Optimus doesn't look quite as good as he did in Bumblebee to me.
No, I agree. And I wish they had kind of, I don't know what they're trying to do, if they're trying to connect Rise of the Beasts to these movies or if it's connected to Bumblebee. But yeah, I agree. I wish they had taken the Bumblebee designs and just run with that, because it was pretty perfect in Bumblebee.
I mean, the Rise of the Beast is the look of the Transformers and Rise of the Beast is very similar to Bumblebee. It just, I think it was much better executed in Bumblebee. But again, it was just a trailer. The movie hasn't come out yet.
Right.
So
yeah, that's true.
They could still be working on the visual effects, but as far as the design, the Bumblebee versions of them look better.
Yeah. Again, so the movie, you know, we've obviously fast forwarded so we could see the end. The movie has ended now, and I just saw Steven Spielberg's name, and I kind of forget that he's a producer on these films. Again, it makes Transformers Heaven that much worse. Like, did Spielberg read the script? I think at this point Spielberg's just taking the paychecks.
Yeah, I don't think he read the script, man. I
was gonna say he couldn't have, right?
He's just paying for the movie,
right? He just is he's collecting his check and putting his name on the movie, but because I refuse to believe that Spielberg would read that part and be like, yeah, that's fine. But at the same time, it'd be kind of funny if they send Spielberg the script and he doesn't read it, and then they talk to him. They're like, "So did you read it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah, it was good."
He goes to the premiere.
I love what you did in the third act.
Right.
Like, really?
Really? You really like that part? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was great.
Yeah, it was great, man. Make sure you leave that in. All right.
Spielberg said it was good. Yeah, I think it's just Spielberg's like, yeah, put my name on it. Give me those paychecks. I don't know how involved he was. I feel like he was probably a little more involved in the first film, perhaps, but then after these sequels, I think he's just, because they're Paramount movies, but did DreamWorks have anything to do with it? You know, maybe it's just, so it's,
because you hear the Transformer sound when the.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm thinking he just kind of was like almost like a studio head. Like maybe he wasn't as much of a hands-on producer or anything. So. All right, man. Well, I think it's time to rate this movie. I'm curious to hear. I think
you go first.
Sure.
Go first.
To be honest with you, I'm tempted to give it a 1.5, but I think the scenes that I like are good enough to kind of bump it up a little bit. It's still going to be a pretty low score for me because I don't think as a whole the movie works, and I feel like it's too long and the comedy doesn't necessarily work. But I think the first half is the opening scene is really good. The forest battle scene is really good. And the third act is pretty decent. And then of course when Optimus comes back, it's amazing. But so yeah, I'm going to go with 2 out of 5 stars. I got nothing to the 2 out of 5 matrices of leadership.
Oh man. Okay. I love the movie. I don't love the movie. I like it. I love the first one. I love the third one. I like this movie. I very much enjoy it. Strangely enough, despite its many, many flaws, it has rewatchability. Yeah. For me, it does.
Sure.
I know you hadn't seen it in a while, but even reviewing it now and watching it while it was on, like I was
You're still enjoying it. Yeah, sure.
Enjoying myself. But that does not excuse
Transformers 7. Right.
That does not excuse Transformers 7. That is a cardinal sin.
Yes.
Blasphemous. But I'm gonna give it I'm gonna go a little bit higher than you. I'm gonna give it 2.5 out of 5 primes.
That's actually lower than I thought you were going to go because you were, I know the way you were kind of just describing it there, I thought you were going to go at least 3. And I can't say anything. There are bad movies that I like and I think have rewatchability that I know a lot of people very much dislike, like The Lost World, Jurassic Park 2. I really like The Lost World. I gave it 4 stars, which I know you immediately texted me about when you listened to that episode. You were like, seriously? So, I can't, I am not one to judge, but,
it's ironic because I like that movie too.
Right. Just
and
not
I,
as
I
much.
feel like
not
I'm
4
always
stars.
defending it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm always defending it. But when you gave it 4 stars, I'm like, whoa. Slow your roll.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, so I don't think this one has quite as much rewatchability. I feel like the first one, and from what I remember, the third one, I could pop in and probably rewatch more often than this one.
Agreed.
But that being said, the good stuff in this movie is still really good. It's just there's a lot of bad stuff in this movie. So yeah, I don't think your score is too high or anything by any means. So, so yeah, that's cool. Well, we'd love to know what you think about Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also tweet at us or comment on our Instagram. Both handles are at CinemaHeroes. And if you're watching the video on YouTube, leave a comment down below, give the video a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'd love to hear from you however you want to reach out. But I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.